be unacceptable to everybody. Mr. Sinwar chose to start this war. There was a ceasefire in place. He broke it.
Do you think that the Israelis were defending themselves legitimately when they killed 100 of people yesterday?
There have been too many people killed over the course of this conflict. The president has said that himself. Secretary Austin said it in testimony again yesterday. Each civilian life, Palestinians certainly included, each one is a tragedy and should be avoided.
Sorry, thank you. Last night the IDF said that it only fired warning shots into the crowd and the majority of deaths were caused by trampling. As of now, does the administration believe that assessment to be accurate?
We don't have enough information to verify those comments. That's why I said we want to see an investigation. We want to see more work done to figure out what happened.
Admiral, the U.S. was one of several countries after the October 7th attack that cut funding for the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, given reports in Israel suggesting that there were people there with ties to Hamas. That obviously is the agency really that would be in a different situation responsible for bringing in a lot of the humanitarian aid. Is the administration rethinking cutting off funding for that organization at this point, given your assessment that not enough aid is getting in?
No, the suspension of assistance to UNRWA, what was left unallocated is still suspended. There's been no change in our policy on that, and we're working with other aid organizations like the World Food Program who are on the ground to assist with distribution as well. Look, 13 some odd thousand UNRWA employees on the ground in Gaza. The vast majority of them do great work, do it with good intent, and as I said many times, you don't want to impugn the entire agency because of the potential actions of a few. Now, they're investigating this. We expect a full, thorough, credible, transparent investigation as to those employees that might have been involved in supporting Hamas, and that those who were need to be held properly accountable.
Seems like not having them funded, though, having to rely on other organizations, now having to resort to airdrops, that has complicated the situation.
I would remind, as I said earlier, that the unallocated funds for UNRWA that we suspended were actually not intended for Gaza. They had been earmarked for work in Jordan.
Thank you. I've got two questions. First, the House Foreign Affairs Committee is threatening to hold Secretary Blinken in contempt if the State Department does not hand over material concerning the Afghanistan after action reports, specifically some internal notes. What is the White House's response to that contempt threat? And then did the White House ever direct the State Department to hold off on releasing those documents?
I'm going to refer you to the State Department.
So the committee says that in their interactions with the State Department referred them to a White House lawyer. So can you tell us anything?
You talk to the State Department.
All right, then a follow-up about Gaza. You mentioned a second ago that the ceasefire was broken when Hamas attacked Israel. Are you suggesting that Hamas bears ultimate responsibility for the current and ongoing humanitarian crisis there?
The war that they're in right now was started by Mr. Sinwar. He's the one who chose to break the ceasefire that was in place on the 6th of October. Now, obviously, you gotta get that. Obviously, in the conduct of this war, and we've been very honest about this too, that there have been too many innocent people killed through Israeli Defense Force operations in Gaza. We've been very honest about that. We want to see zero. So certainly, we recognize that the prosecution of efforts against Hamas have caused civilian damage, civilian casualties, and we don't want to see anybody else hurt, and that's why we continue to work with our Israeli counterparts to be as careful and discriminate as possible.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you. So I have a question regarding UK and ECOWAS. Do you agree with the ECOWAS, the recently lifted sanction on UK? And I wanted to find out whether you agree with that being lifted, and if you talk to the President Bazoum of UK also.
Ma'am, you're going to have to let me take that question if you don't mind. I'm not prepared to answer that one, and I owe you an answer, and I'll get you one.
Okay.
Thank you. Admiral, there was a pretty scathing report out this morning from the State Department IG's office about U.S. Ambassador to Singapore, Jonathan Kaplan. It alleged, among other things, that he had poor relationships shares any concerns about how his performance has hobbled U.S. efforts in the region.
The President understands that the State Department's taken this IG report seriously. As far as we understand, they've already started to implement many of the recommendations that the IG has put forward. Obviously, the President always wants his representatives overseas or at home to act and to lead and to manage people with dignity and respect. That's his expectation for all of us. But he's comfortable that the State Department is taking it seriously.
Thank you. John, can we get a quick comment on the Russian nuclear threat?
Thanks. All right. Yeah. One quick one. Can I have the White House's reactions with CDC deciding to drop the 5-day